Welcome to Adulting with Adam. Today's episode we're going to do something a little bit different for this channel and patch some drywall. Why make this video? Two reasons. One, I decided I didn't want all my videos to be about cooking. I honestly don't really know what this channel is going to be about yet completely, so I'm just throwing everything against the wall, seeing what sticks. And the second reason is, I got some holes in the wall, man! Why are there... Did you hear that? That's why I have holes in my wall, because of my stupid dog. When he's bored and I'm asleep, he chews holes in my walls. Let's take a look at what you need. This is a lightweight, quick-drying spackle. That's more appropriate for smaller areas that don't have as much damage. I have two putty knives because this is the crappy one I use just to get the stuff on the wall, and then I smooth it out with this. All right, this is the bedroom. This, as they say, is where the crushing loneliness threatens to consume my very sense of self. You can see I've done a little bit of prep already. I've got my curtains tied up to get out of the way of these holes. I've got the cold air return grate pulled off on this wall so that I can get to those holes. And let's just survey the carnage here. That's Porter's handiwork. And I actually caught him over on this side. I mean, you can look, this is just, you know, it's just chewed up. This is actually pretty deep. This is still damp with his saliva, which is great. Okay, so first, just take your crummy putty knife and just go around the edges. I'm going further than the edges because he left a lot of crap. So I'm going to go through here and pull away this paper that's kind of sticking out. Because you want all the damage to the wall to move inwards towards the deepest point. That makes it easier to patch up. And like so many other things, you got to make it worse before you can make it better. I think both of these are shallow enough that the lightweight spackle will be okay. I think we're good. So let's do the next part. You take your lightweight spackling here, which, if you've never used this stuff, I'll give you a quick look at it. It's like really, it's kind of almost dry. Like, I don't know if you've ever messed with that kinetic sand stuff, but it's sort of a similar consistency to that. I don't know what noxious chemicals this stuff is made out of, but it makes this kind of job a lot easier. Just get a big old wad of it and smear it haphazardly into the hole. You know, just take the wad and haphazardly smear it into the hole. Yeah, it's that classic advice. It's what they always say. So I'm just trying to get as much of it in there as we can. You want to apply some pressure too as you do this, because you really want it to kind of squeeze in there and bond to every little nook and cranny of the hole that you're trying to patch. You don't want, pockets of air in there. It can result in a weaker bond of the patching material. We're gonna try to one coat this shit, or one application, I should say. It's not really a coating. I want this spackle material to kind of stand proud of the wall itself, so that it'll dry that way, and then I can sand it back down flat. You don't want an excess amount of stuff, because if you put too much of this in, the outside of it will dry and effectively create a bit of a vapor barrier and prevent the underneath from drying, because the moisture has nowhere to go. Why is that bag wet? That's gross. That was under the sink. I don't know. Hopefully there's not a leak under my sink. You want to use a wide putty knife for this part of the job, for smoothing. You don't want to put a bunch of localized pressure right on the spot with the spackle in it, or it'll pull away, it'll pull out of the hole while it's still wet. Honestly, I know a lot of pros for this kind of stuff, they'll actually just use a trowel, which is sort of like a putty knife, but it's like this wide. It lets you go across a giant area of the wall for exactly that purpose. This job's not big enough that it justifies a trowel. Also, I don't own one, but I'd go buy one. I mean, they're not expensive. I got something on this putty knife I can see that is leaving a mark. And I wash this one every time I use it, so it's gotta be Yeah, see, now I need more. I overdid it. Now I need more spackling in this hole because it started to pull away. I'm sure that's good enough. So we'll just kind of do the same thing. And all we're trying to do is remove some of the excess stuff so that it just dries more evenly. These are both smoothed out pretty well. So I'm just going to do this little, it's like a piece of, oh God, it's a piece of spitty, that's disgusting. That stupid dog. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of the room, and I'll give it some time to dry. It's probably going to take a couple hours. It'd probably be after dinner or tomorrow. Even though this is lightweight, quick drying spackle, there's still a considerable amount in here. I'm probably right on the edge of the size of hole that you can actually justify using this stuff with. If this hadn't been the second time in a month I've patched these holes, I would probably do it with the joint compound and do it in layers. And then sand and finish. But I think I can get away with cheating here with a lightweight spackle. So we just got to give it time to dry. And once it does, we'll sand it and paint it. One quick thing I should mention, you definitely want to clean off your tools. You don't want to let this stuff dry on your putty knife. Once you have spackle dry on a putty knife, you have ruined that putty knife. Because it won't come off, won't wash off. It will never leave a smooth bead on anything that you try to repair with it again. So this is a two-hand job, but I'm holding a camera. So, you know, this is a sacrifice I make for you guys. But you really want to make sure there's no grit left on the edge of that putty knife. It is too late for this one, I'm afraid. This one, someone else used, didn't wash it off in time. And then when they did, they didn't dry it off. So in addition to having spackling permanently crusted to it, it's also rusty. Okay, it's day 2. I gave that spackle overnight to cure. I did go up and look at it, and I don't see any cracking. There's no real shrinking. If I can knock this out today, I'd like to. With these spots being the size they are and the fact that I'm just blending paint, there's really no reason why one coat shouldn't do the job. All right, we take a look and we can see this stuff is good and dry. Nice and hard, you know, there's no cracking, so I'm pleased with that. And we're ready to start sanding, so you take your sander with some 150 grain or 150 grit sandpaper. This is considered like a finishing grit, which is perfectly appropriate for what we're doing here. So you take your sander and you know, grasp it firmly and just start going. All right, so your next important step, because that's a sucky job with a tool like this, is to just take this and throw it away and use an orbital sander like a grown-up. Sanding is done. I think everything turned out good enough to paint. So next, what we want to do is clean up all the drywall dust so that the surface of the wall is clean. I've got my shitty, oh, I hate this vacuum cleaner. Like, if you're shopping for a vacuum cleaner, don't buy one of these. The brand is fine, I guess, but this particular model, the Rocket Deluxe Pro, is a piece of shit. The filters are really difficult to get to and clean. The carpet attachment has this little flexible hose in it so that it can like move, and that hose becomes brittle over time and cracks. If I had it to do over again, I would buy a different vacuum cleaner. In fact, this is on my list of shit I need to buy. It's just, you know, that list is a mile long. So I'm gonna just sweep this up. I've already taken a like a little plastic bag and picked up all the bigger chunks by hand that won't want to sweep. So I'll suck up the intermediate chunks with this end here, and then use the carpet attachment to get the rest out of the carpet. So for this last cleanup step, we're gonna take a damp washcloth, and I just mean damp. I do not mean wet. You don't wanna put a lot of water on the wall. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna, you know, gently wipe off the baseboards and just wipe any drywall dust or spackling dust that's left on the wall so that it doesn't mix with our paint when we try to roll it out. We're not talking about any kind of strenuous work here, you know? We're just doing this. And then just one of these. And that's it. We don't wanna get this real wet. Just want to hit it real quick like that. And kind of go up and around because that dust, you know, that dust does get everywhere. Okay, final part of the process here is we paint. Now, oh, we lose focus. Hello, I'm right here. We might have a small problem. I could have sworn I had a new paint roller fuzzy thing, but I don't. I looked all over the house. I only have the old one that I used the last time I repaired these walls in this room. I think it'll be okay. We're gonna give it a shot because there's one thing that I know is that I'm not going to the hardware store today and I want to finish this. Here you go, right away. You need a roller and a roller fuzzy, preferably a fresh one, not one like this. You need a paint tray with or without a liner. I always use a liner because I'd rather throw that away than wash a paint tray, even though I guess that is a harmful plastic that probably winds up in the ocean. Don't use a liner. You need your paint, interior latex paint, and that is what you need. For a job like this, we don't need to prime because we're painting over the same color and white. And as long as we do it well enough, you'll never see it. Always stir your paint. Stir it well, even if you were just using it yesterday, and close it up. All right, if what I'm about to explain seems painfully, almost insultingly obvious to you now, just bear with me. It's very possible that if you're watching me for this kind of advice, that you've never done any of this stuff before in your life. So I've got a small amount of paint in my paint tray here. I got my only slightly compromised paint roller, and you just get a little bit on kind of the surface of the roller and bring it back over this bumpy section. And it's usually a bumpy section. Sometimes it's ridged, sometimes it's ribbed. Okay, just take your roller and just lightly run it across the spot you want to get, and don't worry about coloring within the lines. Don't be afraid to spread it out. And that's actually the trick to what I'm going to show you. You don't want to go too fast. Centrifugal force will grab that paint and fling it all over you and other things in your room that you don't want to be covered with paint. And we don't want to fuck with the drop cloth, so we're just being careful. So you can see what I'm doing now is I'm kind of flouring out. Oh God, it's totally out of focus. You son of a bitch. Don't freak out that the color's going on considerably lighter than it started on the wall. That's normal. And the idea is you want the paint to thin out as it gets further along the undamaged or unrepaired part of your wall. Your paint roller is going to start running out of paint, and that's fine because you really want just almost a tapering off of the thickness of paint as it moves away from the repaired spot. And you don't want to push too hard either, because if you push too hard, you'll leave marks. If you can see like the direction the roller went once the paint is dry, you done fucked up. Ooh, I don't want to hit this. I have a really shitty copy of Van Gogh's Starry Night on this wall. It's seriously the worst attempt at copying that painting I've ever seen. But I kind of like it because it is so bad, and you know, I like Van Gogh. And you know what? This is stupid. I need to move this. You know, leave it like that. But this is good. This gives me kind of a big area. I can blend into this. And then when the painting goes back up, you'll never see the line. People act like this is really hard to do. Like you gotta be a professional painter to blend paint well. And here's the thing. If when this dries, it looks like shit, boy, that'll vindicate those guys, won't it? But this ain't my first rodeo. And I think it'll turn out just fine. All right, take a look. You can see, you know, we've got really even coating there where the holes used to be. And then we just kind of gradually fade out as we get away from it. And when this dries, which won't take long because it's only one coat of paint, and it's laid on pretty thin, that color difference should disappear completely.
What is it, Porter? Are you upset that I fixed the walls? That your handiwork is gone? What do you say, buddy? You still sleepy? Okay. Well, let's take a look and see how we did. Do you want to see how we did? Huh? You do? Let's see. Okay. All right, big reveal. Check it out. Do you see a hole? Do you see the remnants of a hole? Looks pretty good. What about the paint? Do you see a difference with the paint? I sure don't. Do you see where old paint stops and new paint starts? No, sir. Used to be holes. Now there's not. Holes deleted. That's how you do it. See, you don't see where I painted yesterday. Are you ready to go out, Porter? Yeah. Let's go start the day.